he he's one major hit away from drinking meat.
All right, and welcome back, everybody, to NFL Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Dash. I got my co-host, Eric, here with me tonight. Puffy will possibly, maybe, hopefully be on later. Got some stuff to take care of tonight, but we'll be thinking of him while we're doing the show. We got us a nice little trick or treat there. There we go, a little trick or treat. Celebrating the Halloween.
Getting clever.
Celebrating some Halloween. We got us a new intro.
Yeah, it was nice.
It's work in progress, but and my wife is home to say hello with her ears on. But yeah, tonight we're just gonna do something a little different. I don't really talk about the games, the past games, so we'll still get our picks in, but something you've mentioned a couple of times before, and it's time to bring it up again, and why the 2025 NFL is chaotic and perhaps bad. So a lot of the you've mentioned it before, but I'm hearing it all across the internet, the social medias, you name it. You go on to any YouTube video, and they're all talking about how underwhelming this season is. And I mean, we could. I'll list off some factors, and then we'll touch on it. Obviously, major injuries, key injuries again, killing the season. Disappointing team performances, if you will. From Baltimore to Dallas to Miami, you name it. There's a lot of disappointing football teams out there. I would say there's a lack of a clear Super Bowl favorite. Maybe not a lack of a clear one. I think there's probably a couple that we feel like will make it, and then there's just some nasty offenses out there, and I don't mean nasty and good. I mean nasty as in not good, and just poor performance all across the board. So let's just get your first thoughts on the 2025 season. Then we'll kind of touch on some of these other ones.
Yeah, I don't know what everybody's definition of bad is, but I just don't. There's no consistency in the league. There's no there. We talk about parity, and a lot of people say, "Hey, well, parity is a good thing. You don't know who's going to win from week to week." And you briefly mentioned it. There's no Super Bowl favorite, but the way I'm seeing it, there's no consistency. There's a ton of blowouts. One team blows a 30-0 lead in the fourth quarter and loses. And the best team in the NFC right now, the Green Bay Packers, they lose to the Cleveland Browns. And then the very next week they tie. They end up in a tie with, Dallas. Your Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. Baltimore, many picked to be the favorite, are one of the worst teams in the AFC right now. There's parity. You go week to week, and yeah, you don't know who's going to win, but I continue to argue that you don't know who's going to win because it's like the best of the worst. You can't count on the teams that are great.
Yeah.
You can't. Yeah. While, you would think guys like me would have hope week to week, because technically I do. For a little while there, I thought the Saints might have had a chance against Tampa. But was that because the Saints were doing good, or was that because Tampa was underwhelming? Saints had a ton of turnovers that game, and Baker Mayfield probably had one of his worst games of the season.
Don't remind me.
And so, you know, it's just not exciting. There isn't epic matchups. There isn't epic rivalries. Right now, you look at the scores, this weekend, and how many were one-score games? I think there was only one that was one-score game, and that was the Jets winning their first game of the year.
Yep.
After they were getting smoked by the Bengals for most of the game. We talked about, I just mentioned the Ravens. Well, the Ravens beat the brakes off of the Bears, who had won like 5 straight. We're starting to put it together, or 4 straight. I can't remember.
4 straight, and then I think they
had won 4 straight.
Yeah.
And they run into a buzzsaw that happens to be the Baltimore Ravens, the Lamar Jackson-less Baltimore Ravens. You don't know what you're getting. And also, I saw a stat the other day. There are only like 30 300-yard passing games this year. There was like over 200 in one season back in, the mid 2010s when, these guys were slinging it. So I just don't know. I don't know if if National Football League has an identity right now. I'm just rambling. Sorry.
No, you're good. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Listen, you hit everything on the head. Let's just go with you're talking about parity. Let's talk about, bad refereeing again.
Yeah.
I'm going to. How many times did I didn't hear when you have the announcers going, I didn't hear a whistle, and calls are getting overturned, or you have the tush push stopped and a fumble, and they go no forward with no whistles, no forward Listen, we already know that NBA is under investigation. I am not going to be surprised if somebody's name in the NFL is not dropped within the next couple of weeks. I'm seriously. We're getting referees suspended from NFL for bull crap. I almost said the S word. I'm going to keep it clean tonight. Bull crap. But this weekend alone, there was 3 or 4 calls where they were trying to say forward progress was stopped and gave the ball back. And listen, again, I understand certain quarterbacks get preferential treatment, but the one where Mahomes was thrown in the end zone, clearly not roughing the passer. He kind of just tossed him down a little bit. It's not like he jackknifed him or power bombed him or fell on top of him. He just slung him down. That was a horrendous call. And I turn around and watch another game with one of the brand new quarterbacks. He gets pummeled by a helmet under the chin and not a flag, not a stop to replay it. There's no consistency still. I don't care if you're going to call it for Mahomes, who's grade A number 1 quarterback in the league, you better call it for Cam Ward.
Yep.
There should be no preferential treatment, and I'm seeing it all over the board. I watched. I think it might have been is it how I say his name right? Tyler Show. I think he got belted, and they didn't call anything.
You're talking about my quarterback?
Yeah.
Shuck.
Tyler Shuck. I think he got belted in the mouth and nothing was said, or no penalty flags thrown. So I'm right there with you. The consistency that you can say parity all you want, but is it really parity, or is it just the teams that we expect to win are not winning? Dallas went into that game with the best offense in the league, or one of the, if not one of the, not the best, one of the best. They didn't How do you have one of the you have the leading tight end in the NFL in scores and yards, and you don't throw him the ball?
Yeah, I mean, remember last week we talked about running games. You have 2,000-yard rushers and you didn't use them, and then you decide to use them this week and you win. That's why I don't. There's no. Again, it gets back to an identity. I don't. The Bills, they did terrible the past couple weeks because we said the primary thing they didn't do was run the ball. And what happens? Cook literally cooks over 200 yards rushing, and they beat the brakes off of Carolina.
Right.
Carolina has not been a slouch this year. They started out really slow, but they haven't been a super terrible team. But Buffalo just mowed them down. So I don't, I just don't understand. You look at parity and it's literally just an imitation. Again, if you want to have parity, the idea is that all teams are playing the best football. The refs are not given an opportunity to put the game in their hands. These teams are playing at super high levels. The energy is high. The play is good. The coaching is good. The time, the clock management, all that stuff is good. Even the water boy is operating at peak performance. And that's any given Sunday, that's almost exactly the opposite of what's happening.
Yeah.
It's just not crisp. And the refs are, again, playing too much of a role. And this is very microscopic. We're getting a little down in the weeds, but you see a team that's down on their luck in the National Football League. What do? They throw it deep. They don't really care if they get a completion. If they get a pass interference, that's good. Quarterbacks purposely underthrowing the route so that when the wide receiver turns around to get it, the defensive back is just going to run into him. It's an automatic penalty 100% of the time. Yeah. Just automatic.
Yep.
And you do that, 40 yards down the field with today's kickers, you're already in field goal range. It's just, I don't know. It's very frustrating to watch. Let's put it that way. And I'm okay that my Saints are not good. I'm okay because we knew what we were getting into. But I still want to go into a Sunday night game and not want to watch something else in the middle of the second quarter because it's boring. Ridiculousness is happening. There's no crisp play, and look, I watch college football all day long nowadays. To me, that most of those games have good energy. Yeah. And that's what I feed off of in games. And I've maybe seen that in one game, and I couldn't even remember what game it was this year. That's where I'm at the moment.
The only one I can, really the only one I can think of is the Bills and the Ravens. That game was pretty, and that's what I thought we were in for all year. I mean, it's just you can't tell me that Lamar Jackson is the entire Ravens team. You can't tell me that that Saquon Barkley or all those guys. I mean, I don't understand how Jalen Hurts one weekend can look crappy and throw the ball and whatnot, and then ball out the next weekend and throw. It's like 1 week. Well, we're going to try this pass. We're going to try some passing the whole entire game. Oh, all right. Well, that didn't work. We're going to try running the entire week or this game. We're going to try running the entire game. It's ridiculous. And hold on, that's a big deal because Eric likes NFL better. Well, I mean, understandable.
Yeah,
understandable. I just like football. I just want it to be good in all areas on Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Thursday night, Monday night. Whoever's playing, high school, college, NFL. I just want it all to be good. And I don't, again, My definition of bad when it comes to NFL football might be different than yours when it comes to bad, but to me, this is a horrible season. I'm not just talking injuries. I'm just talking play after play after play. Again, congratulations to the Jets, but that should have been a no-brainer. There's no way the Jets should have won that game. On paper, on field, on everything.
Right.
And kudos to finally letting Breece Hall run the ball.
Right.
Right. And,
Amazing what happens.
And then, you have that Sunday night game just was not fun. I didn't care for the Pittsburgh Steelers game at all. It was just was not entertaining. Monday night, I mean, for the first half, I was like, all right, cool. We got a 7-7 game. Maybe this is going to be a good
Washington
game.
Was hanging in there.
Yeah. And then after that, it was all crap. And,
there are a couple good storylines. I like what Daniel Jones is doing, and the Indianapolis turnaround that I don't think anybody saw. I'm a sucker for the underdog. I'll admit it, but we were bashing the Giants because they went with Daniel Jones instead of Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Still was the wrong thing to do. They still should have paid Saquon, but to me, it looks like they just didn't develop Daniel Jones well enough, and now he's in Indianapolis, and they're tops in the AFC right now. So, that's a good story. It's not going to end the way we all wanted, but Cam Scatterboo he's a breath of fresh air in the National Football League. He's that old school football with modern speed, modern strength. If he would have played back, back in the day, he'd be a Hall of Famer today. And so, he's a great story in the National Football League. That's why it was so bad when he got hurt, because literally everybody noticed it. It was not good. His injury it's terrible for him. First of all, let's just make that clear. But
absolutely.
It's also again a microcosm of the National Football League, where one of the best things the entire league now. We're not going to get to watch him play.
And we don't. I mean, that's. Let's just get into the injuries. Are again horrible. Philly's field is. I mean, you can't. That was just a freak accident. Philly has the right field, I believe. I think they have the grass field, if I'm not mistaken. But just a bad field, bad. Yeah, bad. But we just saw Fred Warner go down with that. Tyreek Hill. We're seeing injuries. We're seeing injuries that rarely happened in the 70s and 80s. Rarely. We're talking rarely. And I know we're focused on CTE, and that's great. But we put all of our focus on CTE and we're not conditioning the rest of our body. This is. Again, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not going to claim to be a medical doctor. I don't have any, but I do have a degree in kinesiology and some things. And these injuries would be less likely. I wouldn't say they won't ever happen, but some of these injuries would be less likely to happen if we're conditioning our bodies in a different way. And I don't know what is going on with strength and conditioning. I don't know what's going on with why we're seeing a overabundance of dislocated ankles and broken legs, or why we're again. That was probably going to happen with Fred Warner and Cam Scatterboo, I guess. That was just one of those ones. Even Tyreek Hill, I think, but popped Achilles tendons, ACLs, MCLs. They're rarely in the. I think I saw a couple here and there in the 80s. It wasn't, maybe once or twice. It didn't happen a whole lot. And now all of a sudden, that's all we see. And I don't get it. And it's got, I'm sure that the turf, we've talked about it. The fake turf, the fake grass, all of that stuff is playing into a factor in a lot of these injuries. And is it they're more worried about how they look on Sundays by throwing, scoring a bazillion points or and not focusing on strength and conditioning? Or what do you think the main issue is why we have we have and people playing fantasy can attest to this. We've had so many injuries.
Yeah.
That we have to drop these star players that we picked up. But seriously, we're Amari and Hampton, Pikachu's out still with stuff like that. What is it? What are we missing as fans, or what are they missing as players that they're not doing?
Well, again, I still think it's a combination of the things that we've always talked about. I think the field, that turf is not that fake turf with the little black beads. Most of the players hate that. That stuff is not very forgiving. And while yes, some of these injuries are still happening when that on natural turf, Scatterboo. I think Tyreek Hill's also was. I think they're still finding that a lot of those are on that fake turf, the artificial surface. But you remember, as we were growing up, it just always seemed to be the shoulder injuries, the head injuries. Well, NFL had to deal with a lot of lawsuits. Obviously, the head is a terrible area, so a lot of the focus was on protecting the head area. I coached Little League football for a while. We taught them to go lower. Matter of fact, we would teach on a block, the lower you go, you usually win the fight. So I think part of what happened is the developing in football, the players taught to go lower. It's leaving the lower extremities, which are always more susceptible to injury because, this sounds weird, but they're limby. They're limbs.
Yeah. And
players are faster today. Players are stronger today. Playing football, you don't think if I cut left, I don't want my knee to pop. You just cut left and you do it to the best of your ability as fast as you can. And so you can't process, if I cut left like this and I leave my knee out like this, I'm going to tear something. We don't, athletes just don't think like that. So I think it's still a combination of the turf, the players' abilities, teams focusing on tackling lower. That's why they blocked the hip tackle. That's why they banned the hip tackle this year, because a lot of these lower extremity injuries. I just think it's a combination of a bunch of things, and it's not going to get fixed because what do? Do you protect the head or do you protect the knee? You can't protect both. Otherwise, you're playing flag football.
I don't know. I just you make good points. I just wish there was a way to compensate a little bit.
I think it gets better if you reduce the number of games. If they just stayed at 16 games, then they might be might be a little bit better, because I just think it's too much to ask of these players. I just think I think 18 games is just absolutely ridiculous. We're complaining about the football now. Wait until there's an 18-game schedule.
Yeah, and it's coming. I mean, they've already. Yeah, it's coming. They've already said it. So I mean,
it's coming.
You better put some more teams in there.
Yeah,
I don't know. What did we have growing up? 14, and then it went to 16, and then.
Yep. And it went to 17, and they reduced the number of preseason games.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. The injuries are, we've Joe Burrow's turf toe. I mean this is that's the last one I remember was Vinny Testaverde years ago. I don't really remember turf toe a whole lot in the few years, and now Burrow, and do you think? Let me ask you this, because we've seen it in NBA where they, I call it the pitch count, or they take a rest. They take a rest day, and the stars. Oh, I'm sitting out a game, but I'm injured, but they're not really injured. Do you think some of that is going on in the NFL?
This is always so tough because to me it's questioning an individual's integrity, and I do think players are elongating their injury time being out because I think the season is too long, and I think some of them probably want to be ready for the playoffs, or the team is like, I am not playing you because I don't want us to get fined or sued, or I don't want any investigations into why you were hurt. I don't want to be seen as the guy that's playing you even though you are hurt. So I think nowadays, for a number of reasons, I think players are being held out more than back in the day when we grew up, there were certain guys you couldn't get off the field.
Right. Hurt.
Yeah.
Hurt.
Yeah. I'm bleeding. I'm going in.
Yeah.
That and it was a different mentality. Nowadays, football is way more of a business. There's way more money involved. There's way more risk involved. Betting is a thing now. Refs are a problem. So player safety is, while it's at the top, I just think players are on injury or holding out a lot longer, and I don't know that it's only the players.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't say it's just the players, but I'm not talking about Cam or Tyreek or Lamar or things like that, but when Fred Warner, obviously those are devastating injuries. I know they're, but come on, some of these guys that twist an ankle or might have a broken finger. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not going to question anybody's integrity. But I've seen it, and the only reason, like I said, the only reason I bring this up is because I watch it in basketball. I see it in basketball, and so, and granted, the NBA season is a lot longer season, so I can understand taking a. Well, I should say I don't understand it, but I can let it clock in my head that the reason that they're taking a couple of days off is because of the season's too long. I get it, but yeah, so we talked about injuries. Again, we got disappointing teams. We're talking Miami. We're talking Baltimore. We're talking the Dallas Cowboys. We're talking in certain aspects, the Bengals, and even at times the Bills look a little crappy. There's some disappointing stuff there. Do you think we put too much expectations on these teams? It's kind of, I kind of liken it to some of my favorite actors when I go watch a movie and they have a really crappy movie. Is that what we're putting on these football players now, these teams? We seen we expect the Bills to be out there destroying. They probably should be undefeated. The Chiefs should probably be undefeated, but here they are, kind of sitting, I won't say mediocre, but they're not great right now. They're kind of just, and is that because these guys aren't playing in the first couple of preseason games? What do you think that is? That why we have, let's put it first, let's say the expectations, and then second, let's put it on the maybe slacking off a little bit type things.
I think it boils down to two things. I think it boils down to football has become too much of a business and less of a passion. And I think player development. And this is where college football is going to get shot in the face because players they're not developing their craft like they used to. They're just not. Probably a lot of them are being told first round draft pick. You're at least a high 2. If I'm a first round draft pick or a high 2, that means I get more money when I get signed. Right. It seems to be a lot more about placement, about position, quarterbacks just thrown right into it right away. And so I think football's become too much of a business and lack of development. And I think that has led to there's not as much passion in the game. There's not as much you just don't get a feeling of heart, right? So I watched the best football game I've seen this entire year was the Navy Air Force football game. And I actually accidentally watched it. Navy was favored by an ungodly amount, but Air Force was coming, and they just kept popping them in the mouth. And even when the Navy running back gained 3 yards, there were like 7 academy guys on him, right? 3-yard run, but there were 7 guys tackling him. Next thing you know, Navy drops back to pass. It's a 30-yard completion, which the Navy doesn't do. The whole point is there was energy in that game because it wasn't about that player going in the first round, or it wasn't about that coach not having to protect himself because he's got a $50 million cap to protect him in his coaching career. It was just pure football. And it was 11-on-11. And it was really good football. And
we lost.
Navy won. But it was outstanding football. It really was.
It really was a good game. Yeah, I sat and watched that one too. It was a good game.
You don't see any of that mentality in football. There's other things going on there. Even some of the things I like, the Vikings do the coolest touchdown celebrations, or they do the coolest celebrations when they get a turnover. Those things are fun, but they're supposed to be the added element, not the premiere.
Right. Well, I feel like they practice that more in practice than they do practicing football. I honestly, and that goes for every team. That goes for every team, every player. I swear, I feel like they practice more of their touchdown celebrations than they do the actual mechanics of the game.
But look, these players get paid an ungodly amount of money, and I personally think they deserve it. They risk their entire body. Drew Brees can't even throw football with his sons now because he can't raise his right arm.
Right.
So they sacrifice so much of their body for this game, and we just throw out money to make sure we have Amazon so we can watch the game, or to make sure we get our jersey, or when the last time me and Amber went to a game, we dropped probably $600 or $700 total on that trip just to go watch a Monday night game.
Yep.
And there's just billions of dollars in the National Football League. And, it is what it is until we all stop and say, you know what? I don't really like the quality of the football. It's going to take way more than us 2 pros.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess, we kind of got spoiled. I will say it. We got spoiled in the 80s and the 90s. And I think we did, because that was probably the best time to to ever watch football. I'm not
Man,
saying that.
you remember Monday Night Football, Cowboys versus the Redskins? I mean,
Yeah.
the storylines were epic. The entire offensive line of the Redskins against the entire defensive line of the Cowboys. The quarterback matchup, Joe Theismann, Roger Staubach. I mean, the head coaches, Joe Gibbs, Tom Landry. I mean, 3 hours of chess matches and bone-crushing plays, and I never thought about the refs in those games. Not even once.
No, and now you're. I sometimes feel like I'm watching the refs more than I am watching the game at times.
You can ask Amber. Every single time the Saints do something good on defense, I don't celebrate until I know that there were no flags.
Yeah.
Complete travesty.
Yeah. Well, Lorena and I were watching the game, and I was one of the ones the other night where I feel like it might have been the Dallas-Denver game. It was one of them. There was a penalty every 3 seconds. I swear. It was kickoff return, penalty, punt return, penalty. And then I'll watch another game, and I'll watch another player do the same thing that I just watched in the other game, and no flags are thrown on it. And again, the tush push is gone. I will say that. There's no doubt in my mind come the end of this season that when you sit there now and now they got that slow-mo camera on them now, watching where everybody's literally false starting on the play. I watched a center that was I think it was the Washington Dallas game where the center kind of raised his head. He gets called on it, which I don't think that was a penalty in my opinion. But then I sit there and watch Jalen Hurts' head doing this, which is literally should be penalized because that is trying to draw a foul. You cannot do that. So I'm telling you, I feel like I'm watching the referees more than I'm watching the game, and that makes watching football horrible because I don't want to worry about the referee overturning a call or making a bad call. I'm not whining or crying about it for the OU game, but there was 3 times OU in the OU Ole Miss game where they blatantly missed passing or illegal pick or on that. Now OU lost. I got it. Total. I'm with it. But and again, the tush push fumble. The guy, Jalen Hurts, didn't even make it to the first down. The guy had already pulled the ball out. Nope, forward progress, first down. I don't get it. I just if you want those teams to win, just come out and say you want them to win and just drop them. Just don't play the game. Because I'm tired of watching the referees. I watch certain offensive linemen take a step back 2 seconds early on certain teams and no penalty is called. I watch it for Dallas and they get called every time. There's just literally no consistency with the refs, no consistency with and coaching. Like you said, you got Tom Landry, you got Joe Gibbs, you got Bill Parcells, you got there's the rip, get him ripped, take him to the train station. But I don't see any. You got one coach just sitting there. Just I feel like McDaniel right now is just literally just walking. He's got his headset on like I do, and he's just kind of just.
Yeah, I don't.
There's no coaching. I don't think there's any coaching. I don't know. This was a rant show, ladies and gentlemen. This was I explained there when I texted him. I'm like, this is all about why this season is bad. But we talked about that, and now we'll touch one more little topic, and then we'll do some grading on our team so far. I know Puffy was last week when we were talking. Puffy was going off. I just loved watching the messages come in. It was great to see. And but it's just now it's offensive struggles is the last key factor we'll talk about. And this goes up and down the board. I think the only consistent team is the Indianapolis Colts that's on offense. Just like you brought up Baker, like you don't know if it was a bad offense or a bad defense from the Saints, or like I said, Dallas goes into Denver having one of the, they were talking Dak Prescott MVP. Well, that shut that down real quick, that game. Thank goodness. But there's just a lot of, like I said, I think the only consistent team on offense right now is the Indianapolis Colts, because we're not sitting there bagging on Daniel Jones. You got Taylor who's running his butt off. Jones is making the right calls and the right plays and the right passes. So what do you think on the offensive struggle?
This one is really hard to pin. I don't know. Indianapolis they're first in points. They're also first in total yards, but they've played some terrible football teams. They played the Dolphins. They played the Titans. They've played the Raiders, the Cardinals. They've actually played the Titans twice. The one team they lost to was one of the better defenses in the leagues, in the Rams. So there's a point. There's an argument there that, they haven't, even though they put up 29 against Denver, they haven't played, a lot of tough defenses. So, Daniel Jones hasn't seen a lot, but I can't really put my finger on why the rest of the league is so bad, other than to say the thing that we always say is that if your team doesn't start around your running game and your strong offensive line, then you're going to be fighting an uphill battle the whole time by trying to throw the ball all the time. And that's particularly why the Colts have been so good, is because for Jonathan Taylor is crushing it.
Yeah.
And, their running game is definitely one of the best in the league. They've scored the most rushing touchdowns in the entire league. They have 18 rushing touchdowns right now. That's crazy. Already have almost 1,100 rushing yards in 8 weeks of football. So I've seen a lot of drop balls in the league, in the NFL this year, in a lot of games. Not the Saints. I'm not even just talking about the Saints, but in a lot of football games, I've seen a lot of dropped passes, and that doesn't help you at all. There's a lot of penalties also, and we know penalties kill drives.
Yeah.
So
I'm not saying it's rigged. I'm not
going there.
I don't know. All right. We're kind of quarter through the season? Well, no, yeah, we're about a quarter through the season, maybe almost or 1/3 through the season. How would you right now? We know, like you said, you didn't have high expectations for the Saints. It is a rebuilding year. It is a new coach, so understandable. But what would you grade? I mean, there was a lot of people cheering as soon as Rattler got pulled out of that game. What would you grade your let's go offense first. What would you grade the Saints offense right now?
I mean, I think across the board you have to give the offense an F. As much as I hate to say it, they're 24th in the league in points scored. They can't even get to 20 points a game on offense. Ton of drop balls. There's no creativity. Alvin Kamara is not even getting the ball a lot. There's not a whole lot of excitement on the offensive side of the ball. So you have to give the offense an F. I don't think it's been Rattler's fault, although he's thrown 5 picks in 2 games. He has played terrible.
Yeah.
These last 2 weeks. But it's not his fault. There's no creativity. They're not stretching the field. They're not trying to create momentum, trying to create opportunities. So definitely have to give them an F.
All right, let's go to your defense.
So again, we're bottom 20 in the league in points against. I would have to give our defense a D, not because the statistics show that we're better than the offense, but just because they're at least playing inspired football. One thing I'll give the entire Saints team is this team doesn't want to quit.
Right.
So for drive, for desire, I give them an A. One of the best franchises in the league in terms of we want to be good. But I don't. When the offense doesn't help you, when the offense turns the ball over that much, gives you a short field, because that's what happened with the Tampa Bay game. The Buccaneers didn't have to use a lot of the field. You're going to give up points, and so a lot of the record on the defense that the Saints has is somewhat manufactured. Our defense, we've committed 10 turnovers. We only have a minus turnover ratio. So our offense committed 12 turnovers, but our defense has taken away 10 times. So the defense is somewhat compensating. But we're, a lot of missing the gaps. The running game is we're not giving up, or we are giving up a lot of yards. The average is 4 yards. We're giving up 4 yards a game, or 4 yards a carry, which that's no bueno. You get to that 4 yard mark and that's bad territory.
Yeah.
So I would give our defense a D.
All right, now coaching.
Can I give it an incomplete?
Yeah.
I would say incomplete. Kellen Moore he's dealing with a lost bag, but he does have this team wanting to play. I think he needs to. This being his first year, I think he's learning. But what's not being talked about with the Saints is their schedule. You just look at the teams that they've played this year. They've played the Niners. They've played the Seahawks, the Bills, the Patriots, the Bears, Tampa Bay. All of these teams currently in the playoffs, with the exception of the Bears, if the season ended right now. That one team they beat happens to have the team with the worst record, and that's the Giants. So the Saints have had a terribly hard schedule. Now they go into Los Angeles, where we'll probably lose. However, this team comes into every game wanting to win, and also they don't quit within every game. So I guess I'm going to say incomplete, but at worst a C.
Yeah, I would give them. Yeah, I would say C, or even a close to a C plus, because, like I said, you could see whether the offense is down on its luck. I feel like when I'm watching these games, I feel like the coaches have them prepared, and so I would almost give them a B.
Yeah.
I would almost give them a B because, like I said. And it's hard. And again, and I'm going to be a lot harder on my coaches. Trust me. I know this is Kellen Moore's first as a head coach, head coach stint. But when I see from the games I've seen of the Saints, obviously you get more of the Saints than I do. But of the Saints games that I've watched, he's still. I mean, it's not the end of the game, and he's not just hanging his head. He's still still coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've started out slow most every game, but by the end of you get into the second half, and it's pretty much a different Saints team. And that's kind of been the story, this year. But that's a testament to the coaching staff for getting the team, for keeping the team from being down. So
I think he makes great halftime adjustments.
Yeah.
I probably one of the better coaches that makes halftime adjustments. The record doesn't reflect it, but it does show in play. Like, I mean, we can go back to the Tampa Bay and Saints game. They kept Baker from throwing a touchdown.
Yeah.
That defense was playing. So, I mean, from what I've seen, I'm right there with you. I think I don't see the offense as much, or I don't see the Saints as much as you do. So the games that I have seen with the Saints, I thought they were playing very well except for this last one that I watched with the Tampa Bay. But, all right. So overall, you would say D.
Yeah.
F overall over the team. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, and I respect anybody that can say that, because we know that it's in a rebuilding year.
Mm-hmm.
So and so it's kind of hard to be anything other than. But again, there are bright spots that you get to look forward to next year, I think, as far as this team goes. So
number one pick in the draft right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to move on to the Cowboys. I'll start with my offense. They have the offense to win. That's the thing. They have the offense to win, and they have the pieces there. Williams is good at running. I mean, he got a little resurgence, I think, coming to Dallas. You can see that he likes to run the ball, and Dallas likes to run the ball with him. Dak looks. Except for this past game, this was the first game in so long that he hasn't thrown he hadn't thrown an interception until this game. And to me, I think those were just trying to force it into the wrong people. He wasn't looking at the right people. He was trying to come back, and he couldn't. But the offense has the pieces to win games. So I will give them a B, a B minus on offense. The penalties on offense, I'll echo Tony Romo, the pre-snap offensive penalties, and I'm not just talking about against Denver. I'm talking about the entire season. The pre-snap offensive penalties are killing this team. It is putting them behind the stakes or the sticks.
Yep.
And there's some bright spots on offense. So I'll give him a B minus. Just because Dak was having a pretty good year up until the Denver game, but the defense is an F. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Losing Micah Parsons should not have changed. Granted, that's just one player. He wasn't making all the tackles last year. He wasn't making all the interceptions. But I'm giving an F. They can't stop the run. You got linebackers who are shying away from the tackles on the run. You got secondary players that would rather sit out and I'm not going to mention any names, but they'd rather sit out than play football. So it's just not good on defense at all. You have some bright, shining moments where you get some good play from them. But it's, again, I go back to consistency. There's no consistent play on defense. One weekend they'll look pretty decent and live up to that bottom tier 20 ranked defense, and then you'll get outings like you got against Denver and and the Green Bay Packers and the Giants in that first. Yeah, they it took the offense to win against the Giants that first game.
Right.
They're just lucky that they got away with a tie against the Packers, and then
they had to put up 40 points in both
Yeah.
games just to get the outcome that they got
right. If you're putting up 40 points, you should win games.
easily.
So definitely the F on the defensive side of the ball. And coaching, I'm sorry. I loved Marty Schottenheimer. Thought he was a great coach. I know a lot of people looked up to Marty Schottenheimer. I don't know if his son is head coach material. And he might be a brilliant play caller, and you can see some of that on the offensive side of the ball. But you brought in Matt Eberflus as your defensive. This man couldn't win in Chicago. What makes you think he's going to do anything good on defense for the Dallas Cowboys? And so, I don't understand why Eberflus is the defensive coordinator. I don't know if Jerry's lost his mind anyways. We all know that. Even non-Dallas Cowboy fans know that.
He's a little off.
He is a little off. So I can't explain what is going on in Dallas. So coaching, I'm going to give a F as well. Because it still comes down to the point that you're not, even in the games that they won, I don't think they made any adjustments at halftime. It didn't seem like they made any adjustments at halftime. They just got lucky that those teams that they did beat didn't complete passes, or they were dropping balls, or whatever the case may be. So I'm giving an F to the coaching staff, and maybe I'm being too hard, and maybe I'm not being homer enough. I would think I'm being homer enough to say that the coaching does not look good. So overall, I'm giving the Cowboys a D- as a team, a D-, because as good as some of the offense play is, I'm still of that mindset, of the old mindset that defense wins championships. And if you're not playing defense, you're not winning games.
Yeah, that's a little harsher than I would give them. I would probably give their coaching staff a C. I don't think there's particularly a lot of talent on the defensive side of the football. And I do think losing one guy in Micah is obviously not the end of the world. That's a pretty big guy to lose, not just in terms of talent, but he's a locker room presence. He's a leader. He's a motivator. And yeah, Matt Eberflus may not be the answer at defensive coordinator. They don't have a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball. And coaching is not helping it, because you gotta try to cover those gaps where you can, and they clearly can't do it. However, one side of that ball is pretty good. And so I would probably give coaching, if it was me, I would give coaching a C.
All right. Very good. Well, that's our grades. We'll get all the Puffy stuff next week when he's back with us. So we'll just go real quick into the picks. Won't spend too much time on them. We got a kickoff here in about 30 to 45 minutes with the Ravens at the Dolphins. So let's I do believe Lamar is back for this game. I don't think Tyler Huntley is starting. I could be wrong. I didn't see I didn't see any injury update today, so I'm assuming that Lamar is back, because he kind of should have been back last week, I think, or Sunday. And but we'll see. So Ravens at the Dolphins. Who do you got?
I'm taking the Ravens just because I don't know what you get with the Dolphins, and I think the Ravens might have found that their running game still works.
right there with you. I believe that once they figured out that you can actually hand the ball off to one of the greatest running backs to ever play the game, gives you an advantage in playing. So I agree.
Yes,
I'm going with the Ravens as well. All right, we got Niners at the Giants. Niners at the Giants.
So I know what I sent you, but I have to change my pick because I totally forgot about Cam. So I'm going with the Niners.
Okay. That's a good pick. And yeah, I mean, that is just that is a devastating blow to I think an offense that was finally starting to come around. I think Jackson Dart is your future, and I don't know. Is that an injury that he can even remotely come back from?
They've already said that the surgery was successful and that he should be ready for preseason workouts.
Very good. All right, I'm going with the Niners. If I would totally go with the Giants if Scadaboo was in this game, I really
That's what
would.
I was thinking too.
I think that was a good matchup because I think he would have taken on that Niners defense. But without Scadaboo, I'm going to go Niners as well. So, all right. I think the Vikings have finally lost their way. I don't know if they looked good and they were holding on by a string there, but I think reality has finally set on the Vikings. Plus, you're playing at Detroit, and God, after the dismantling they put on the Buccaneers, and there's no better tandem running backs in the league than those two right there. And I think, I don't know, the Lions got this one hands down. So I'm going with the Lions.
Me too, easily.
All right. I think this is the Texans are kind of showing themselves a little bit, some life. I won't say they're back to that Stroud's rookie season, but they are showing some signs of life a little bit. And this is an interesting matchup. Texans have one of the best defenses, and so do the Broncos. They have a really good defense.
Yeah.
So this is going to come down to who's the better, who plays the offense better. But I am going to go with the Broncos. I really think I think we finally saw the Broncos team that we thought we were going to see all season long against the Cowboys. Not that 16-13 mess against the Jets. I like the Broncos in this. I think they're finally hitting that Peyton stride, if you will. I think they're all on the same page in that team. So I'm taking the Broncos.
Broncos, the best sacking team in the league, and that Texans offensive line is really suspect. I think it's a really long day for C.J. Stroud, and I think the Broncos just wax them.
Nick Bonito, Oklahoma, going to have 5 sacks in that game. No, I would like for I loved him when he played for OU. He's playing fantastic ball for Denver. So shout out to Nick Bonito. All right, we got the Bears at the Bengals.
It's just tough, right? I mean, two really mediocre teams just trying to find their way, trying to survive, trying to figure out. It's really kind of 50-50. I honestly don't know who to take. I think the Bears probably got themselves a little surprised by losing this weekend. But at the same time, I think Cincinnati's like, we had that game against the Jets, easily won, and we let it go. I think it's probably actually going to be a pretty competitive football game.
I agree.
But I think end of the day, I'm going to go with the Bears, and I really don't know why.
I totally get it. I'm going with the home team. I think Flacco rebounds. I think they rebound a little bit, and there was definitely some self-reflection on Monday, I am sure.
For sure.
And Flacco gives the Bengals the best chance with home alone out. So I'm going to go with the Bengals. All right. We got the Panthers at the Packers. Packers showed out against the Pittsburgh Steelers a little bit in that second half. They finally, they looked really good in that second half. And the Panthers come off one of the worst beatings they've taken in a while. So who do you got in this game?
Yeah, this game is at home. Weather's starting to get a little chilly. Green Bay doesn't lose at home often. Doesn't matter who's coaching or it doesn't matter who's quarterbacking. So I'm taking the Packers.
All right. I'm right there with you on the Packers as well. I don't know if Young is back. And Andy Dalton might want to have some self-reflection himself about retiring soon. Not that I have anything against Andy Dalton. He's been a fantastic presence in the NFL, but that he showed his, and I hate to say it, he showed his age in that game.
Yeah.
So. All right, Saints at the Rams.
Yeah, I gotta go with the Rams.
Yeah, that's at home too. And if the Saints can play defense like they played against the Buccaneers, they can stay. I think they can stay close in this game, but I don't know. Again, I don't know if Pikachu is back. I don't know if.
He's off the injury list.
Yeah, so. I know he's off the injury, but we'll see. We'll go Rams as well. As much as I hate to say it. All right. Fantastic. The game of the week, no matter what. I don't care what television channel it's on. This beats the Sunday night game. This beats the Monday night game. This should have been a flex game, in my opinion. But the game of the week I want to say it is on CBS because it's both AFC teams, and Fox rarely shows AFC teams.
Yeah, true.
So Chiefs at the Bills. The Chiefs are surging.
Yeah.
The Bills had a great. Well, Rashee Rice is back. As long as he stops doing his stupid little show-off stuff, he'll been costing 15-yard penalties here and there. He had 2 back-to-back penalties that were nasty for the Chiefs the other night. Chiefs are surging. The Bills had a great win over the Panthers. Bills are at home. I'm taking the Bills.
Yeah, Kansas City's won 5 of their last 6, including 1 win against the Lions. However, they've pretty much beaten up everybody else they played, which isn't a whole lot of people. And I actually think the Atlanta Falcons game really spooked the Bills, and they were like, "Are you motherfucking kidding me?" They came off a bye week. They kind of retooled, realized that their running game is solid. I think Bills win at home.
I do. That's the difference in this game is that running game is if they play Cook and play him right, because they're doing Kansas City is going to rely too much on Kareem Hunt, I think, and that's and Pacheco. I don't know if Pacheco. I know the last it said he was healthy, but let me double check. I'm gonna double check. No, it still says he's questionable, so I don't know. So you gotta have both Hunt and Pacheco running the ball in that game.
Oh yeah.
So you're taking the Bills. All right, we got Seahawks at Commanders. Seahawks at the Commanders.
Yeah, I think Jaden Daniels are talking about being back for this game, but Seattle's just putting together a solid season, so I'm going with Seattle.
Seattle's a good pick. Yeah, something's wrong with the Commanders. I don't, well, the majority of their daggone receivers are hurt, so um, that could have something to do with it.
Yeah.
All right, you know what? Commanders at home. It's hard.
Do it. You know you want to.
I do because, man, I'll think of his name here in a minute. The quarterback that's been Mariota. Mariota can run that offense, and he's mobile. Yeah, I'm going to take Washington. I'm going to take Washington. I'm going to take the Commanders. I feel like that's a downer pick right there, but I'm going to take the Commanders in that one.
There you go.
All right, and finally we have Monday Night Football: Cardinals at the Cowboys. The Cardinals can show signs of life, and the Cardinals have won some decent games, but they've lost some games that they probably shouldn't have lost. So I'm going to take Cowboys at home. That seems to be where they play the best is at home, except for that Packers game. So I'm going to take the Cowboys. I should probably pick against them because every time I pick against them, they win. So I probably should pick against them, but I'm taking the Cowboys.
Going with the Cowboys.
I have a fun fact. Can I give you a fun fact?
Absolutely, you can give me a fun fact.
So I get a football letter or football emails and stuff, and Kyler Murray is 9-0 at AT&T Stadium. When he's played there, high school, college, or NFL, he has never lost in the AT&T Stadium. I think that's such a cool stat.
I want you to take that negative attitude you got right there, and
it's not negative. That's a fantastic stat. I love it.
That is a pretty cool stat.
So I'm taking the Cardinals.
You know what I did? I think they said that the last time, because I do know that.
Yeah.
They said that even when he was playing for OU, and they would do their Big 12 championship games there at AT&T Stadium. So, I mean, that makes. Good. But thank you for ruining my day. I appreciate you ruining my day there.
I'm still going with the Cowboys. I think Kyler Murray right now is questionable. He'll probably play.
Yeah.
But I think if he plays, he gets his first loss in AT&T Stadium.
I did too. I don't think there's enough offense for him to win this game.
There's still, if you're a Cowboy fan, there's still a lot of hatred for the Cardinals. Just going back to the days when they were in the same division, and it wasn't a rivalry that all the others were, but it was a division rivalry nonetheless. And that hatred still kind of
it plays in there. I was looking at some old stuff with my son, and he's like, the Cardinals were in. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of things you don't know about. Sometimes I miss the old divisions. Sometimes, I mean, these new divisions make sense. They totally make sense. Sometimes I miss the old divisions. I remember both of the Bays being in the same division. Yeah. Man, so it's wild. I wouldn't mind a shakeup in divisions and maybe switching some NFCs to AFCs and AFCs to NFCs. I wouldn't mind. Will that ever happen? I highly doubt it, but you never know. I would like to see a shakeup like that. I would like to see some new rivalries because I think it would be fun. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been our show. Before we do our three things, I'm just going to shout out to Puffy. Hope everything's going great, and we'll see you on the next show. But let's get our three things that we're looking for in this week.
Let's see legit passion football. Let's see it. We're in the second half of the season. We're starting the second half of the season. It's time to put up or shut up.
Right.
The Colts have a little bit of a tough matchup. Let's see if they can keep that going. That this is a test of their legitimacy as a team. And then I would say the same thing for the Green Bay Packers. Even though it's a mediocre team coming in to play them. Right now, they hold the top spot in the entire NFC. So, you got to show that you can win when you're supposed to also.
Yeah. I say it all. I just want consistency. That's it. I'm not looking for. I want consistency from teams, from refs, from coaching, just down the board. That's what I'm looking for. And one quick question before we get off tonight. If Miami loses tonight, is McDaniel done?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to say it. It's probably not going to happen, but I still say yes.
I mean, I don't know if that win saved him last week, but maybe it did. But I just can't. I know what Puffy has said, and I know what the owner and the general and the GM have said, and they're going to. McDaniel's his man, but at some point, it's not the players; it's the coaching.
Yeah,
and I think it's possible that McDaniel's lost that. Possible he's lost that locker room.
I thought he's lost them a couple weeks ago. They may just be playing to spite him now.
All right. Well, before we sign off, I'm going to close this out with our video, and then we'll say goodnight. So stand by. And that is it for us this week. We'll be back next week. Same time, same channel as always. God bless you, everyone. Eric, as always, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. God bless you, and have a wonderful, safe weekend. Yeah. And I don't know if you got any of the young ones for trick-or-treating, but if you do, enjoy. And
you guys have a good time.
We're definitely going to try, and God bless you. And remember, you can have a difference of opinion and still get along. So have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
Good night, brother.
Good night.